Heyo, welcome back to the Undrafted and Unqualified Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Anthony, here with Vinny again. We're doing the back-to-back recording today. We're doubling up for you guys this week. We just did the bus episode, we did the values last week, and so right now we're going to do the sleepers, so our sleeper picks of this year. Basically, it's going to fit very similar format to what we've done with the values and bus. Just we're going to start with, these guys are going to be outside of the range we were working with already. So outside the top 20 QBs, outside the top 36 running backs and wide receivers, and outside the top 15 tight ends. That's kind of just the ballpark we've decided on because it felt pretty good for, where guys are going, what we could find in the range based on ADP and stuff. So same as last year, same as the last few episodes, we'll be doing the sleepers this time. So guys we think will finish higher than what we were expecting. And of course, we got to go through how we did last year as well. This is the worst of the three that we did last year because we did 5 for 8 on the values. We went 7 for 8 on the bus picks. So we'll take a look here at the sleepers from last year. I don't know if you want to add anything real quick though, Vinny.
No, I think sleepers are fun, but they're also tough to predict. Hence the sleeper name. I think it's fun because it can really give you an advantage because most of these names are outside, like based on our criteria, are going somewhat close to undrafted. So if you can get ahead of the first waiver wire run and draft a guy that's going to be a part of that group, you're in a good spot for the rest of the year. So it can be a very big time addition if you predict one of these sleepers right.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at last year, technically speaking, we went like 5 for 8 with guys just finishing higher. But really, I think we can give us 2 of 8. Like for example, I had Bryce Young. He was going at QB 24. That was my QB pick. He finished at 19. So like, sure, he finished higher, but he was kind of irrelevant for fantasy. So I don't know if I really want to call him a sleeper. Um,
Hmm.
and then like same thing, Vinny had Gino. He was going at 25. He finished at 23. He was terrible. Like I don't know if we can count those. So, I'll also mention I had Ertz, who I think was decently productive when healthy, but not a great sleeper regardless. He didn't finish that much higher. Brenton Strange actually finished lower. Vinny had Brenton Strange, but he was injured a little too. But he had some relevance, so like we can count that. But what we really hit on, we whiffed on the receivers, but what we really hit on was the running backs. Vinny had Rashad White going at 44. He finished at 32, 12 spots higher. I had Ramondre Stevenson going at 39. He finished at 25, 14 spots higher. So those are where we can take those W's on those sleepers, like guys who actually finished quite a bit higher than where they were going. So I'll say we went a good 2 for 8. We'll take our 2 wins and we'll ride with that. It feels a little different than just saying like the values finished higher and the bus finished lower than where they were being drafted. These are like, you
Yeah.
want them to have some relevance in fantasy. So.
Yeah, and I also think it's not that these guys were league winners. Like Rashad White and Ramondre Stevenson weren't league winners, but they still had relevance, like you mentioned. Like Rashad White had that stretch where he was without Bucky and really produced. So like that's hard to predict, but like there's relevance. It does. We don't think these guys are going to be league winners per se,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
they're going to have some relevance. We think.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good way to put it. Like different than the values and bus,
Hmm.
and just where they finish. These guys have to have some relevance for us to chalk it up as a W. So 2 for 8 gives us room for improvement. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, let's hop into it. Who's got the higher guy here? So I'll hop in here. My QB is a little bit higher, so I'll just hop in. My pick at the QB position, Cam Ward, going at 137 to 1205. This is a very late pick. He's going at QB 22 overall, and yep, I'm in on the Titans this year. So I think they're going to take a step forward. I like Dayball being there. It wasn't a great rookie year, but he did finish at QB 22, and I kind of don't see that remains where he finishes. I think a step forward is definitely in the cards for him. Um, so from a week 11 on, he had a 10 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio and only had one game in the single digits, including a QB4 overall finish against Seattle of all teams, right? So I think that just goes to show like the improvement really did start to show for Cam Ward over the second half of the year. So I'm buying into that a little bit. Signs of life, right? And I think he continues to improve. Dayball is now the OC there. Wasn't it? Didn't they like fire the guy halfway through last year for the Titans? I
For
don't
the
remember.
OC, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Was it? What about the head coach? Was that last year that they fired their head coach halfway through?
Yeah, yeah. This is because Salah's there. So
Yeah.
I forget who. I don't even know who the head coach
It
was.
was it was the dude who was with the Bengals before. I forget his name. Zach, no, it's not Zach Taylor. It was some guy who was the coordinator, offensive coordinator with the Bengals, and it just didn't
Okay.
pan out. Um,
Yeah.
but regardless, new head coach, new offensive coordinator. You get Carnell Tate, Wandale Robinson. That's huge upgrades for who he's throwing the ball to, as opposed to Alec Iomanor and Calvin Ridley as his one and two. So. He's also got sneaky rushing upside, and I think it's going to be utilized more with Dayball. Like he rushed quite a bit in college, and his best rushing game was like 6 for 37 and a touchdown last year. I think he can run a lot better than what he was given to do last year. So I really think that takes a step forward as well. Honestly, I think QB 22 is his floor. So I think he's free as a late round dart throw, and I'm even thinking about shooting him as like my QB3 target in Superflex leagues. I really think like no, we're not shooting these guys as league winners or sleeper picks here, but to me, I think Cam Ward could be very productive and honestly, I think he has a ceiling of top 12 finish this year, which is kind of crazy to say, but I really saw the improvement and I like the offense, I like the improvements and yeah, I'm buying into Cam Ward stock.
Yeah. No, I think even last year in some of our recaps, we would the Titans were horrible, so we would
Yeah.
it would be a quick recap,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think I would even point out sometimes that like in terms of the eye test, I like the looks of Cam Ward and like his his progressions, how he like you mentioned how at the end of the year he got a lot better, even though maybe it didn't full out go into success, team success, personal success, but he looked more comfortable. So I do like a year or two turnaround a lot for him. And Wando Robinson's the underrated piece for that. Of course, Carnell Tate's the new shiny toy that he has in the wide receiver room, but Wando Robinson will be a great addition for him, maybe make him more comfortable. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like the pick.
Absolutely, yeah. Why don't you hit
All
us with
right.
your QB?
Yeah, so my QB is going to be Daniel Jones, who has a ADP of 144 right now, and that's good for the QB 25 overall. So he's going undrafted in one QB leagues for sure, or maybe not, like just towards that borderline of potential undrafted. But I think it's really easy to forget about the fact that the Colts were 8-0 with Daniel Jones, I think, at one point. Jonathan Taylor was taking over the world as the RB1 overall. They were viewed as one of the most of the elite offense in the league at that point. And it started to go downhill right after he got hurt. They were a locked in playoff team. And of course, they choked that away after Daniel Jones got hurt. So I think that in itself shows how much Daniel Jones meant to that team and the offense so that they could produce to that level. And so it's easy to forget about, but that was the case. And that was good fantasy production for Jones as well, where, it wasn't anything elite by any means, but still very good production over the course of that time where it was up until week 14, which I was surprised about as well. I thought he got injured earlier on in the season, but he was a steady name at the QB position, especially in the waiver wire ads last year that like won some weeks for people and had a very good year overall. Now, he did have 4 rushing touchdowns, but the fact that the injury in itself would be a concern for a rushing ability type of quarterback that helps his case in a little bit in my mind because he didn't rely on that as much last year aside from some scores in the rushing game, but he wasn't rushing for 30 plus yards every game and really tacking on points with that ability. So the fact that it was a leg injury doesn't scare me as much for his production to get back to potentially somewhat of that level, not close to it because that was a very high level of play, but someone back to that level. And then the offense in itself, they traded Michael Pittman, but it hasn't changed much. They still have Jonathan Taylor. They paid Alec Pierce. They still have Josh Downs, who I think will take a big step forward. So the offense is still there, who we had success with in the past era this past season. And then similar to Cam Ward, and even more so, I think Cam Ward can maybe have some standalone value where like you could play him on a week to week basis at some point if we both like think if he does the things that we both think he could do. I think Daniel Jones could be a good, if you pick a riskier quarterback like Jackson Dart or Bo Nix, you pick Daniel Jones right at the end of your draft, and you have someone on your bench that you could kind of play in matchups that fit that are good matchups for that offense because they've shown they can be elite with him at the helm. So yeah, I like him as like kind of a dart throw, shown the production already last year.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I had him in my one quarterback league, and I was kind of riding that because I drafted Bo Nix, so I kind of just picked him up and like
Mm-hmm.
I just looked
Yeah, there
up
you go.
week 1 to 13, right? That's when he was healthy. QB 7
Mm-hmm.
overall,
Yeah.
and he was, averaging 19 a game. And keep in mind, he was kind of banged up and playing through that even. So I think like post bye week. So if we want to do weeks 1 through 10, even like let's see there for a minute. QB 5, and
Wow.
he was averaging 20 a game. So he was in very, very elite company and he was steady. That was the thing about Daniel Jones too, right? Like he was
Mm-hmm.
just good he never lost you a week, which I think that's important to keep in mind. So I like this pick a lot. I think we may just have to be a little patient too with him coming back from injury because it
Mm-hmm.
could take him 4 weeks, and we'll see. But yeah, I'm with you. He did lose Pittman, which hurts too. But um, I think he could be very productive again once he's
I'll,
fully healthy.
Coming up, I'll explain why I'm not too worried about Pittman
Yeah,
leaving,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we'll save that for a little later.
yeah. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think 25 is just way too low.
Yeah, yeah.
The running back position, I'm bringing him back. Vinny took him last year as a sleeper. I'm going Rashad White. He's going 111, early 10th, 10:03. He's the RB 38. So he's barely in that sleeper range for us, right outside the top 36. So yeah, he's back, making a return. I personally wouldn't be surprised if this is the primary passing down back for Jaden Daniels, who they played together in college at Arizona State. So they've already got that rapport built. Um, Also, could very well see him taking goal line carries. I think Bill Krosky was pretty bad last year at the goal line. 3 for 9 on attempts inside the 5. Like not great. He's got the burst. He's got the explosivity that Rashad White doesn't. But maybe we don't see him at the goal line. Maybe that's Rashad White. I think he could definitely take that spot. I think Rashad White to me is very much going to be the 1A. That's kind of how I view it. You know, I think Bill could maybe be the 1B, but even still, I think even if Bill takes the early down work, I think Rashad White's going to be the more valuable option here in fantasy, and I think he's going to have a nice floor on a week to week basis. Um, Another thing to point out, we want to target these ambiguous backfields year after year. It's something we always bring up. Javonte Williams probably going around this range last year. Travis Etienne probably around the same range, like they're in these 30s. Prime examples from last year. These guys finished with unbelievable seasons, both Javonte Williams and Travis Etienne. So this is another situation where Rashad White, it's kind of nasty. He's not a very efficient running back, right, on the ground, but like he's had a running back 4 overall finish. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in a very non-efficient year in 24, he finished at 22. So as long as he's getting work, like I think he could be super productive, and he's a good receiving back too. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where he thrives. And besides the Vikings running backs, backs going after Rashad White are like all pretty much all change of pace guys like Tyrone Tracy, uh, Woody Marks, Keaton Mitchell, Isaiah Pacheco. Like that's a backup, a pure backup to Jameer Gibbs. So I'm just I don't understand why he's going so late. The Vikings running backs are also great targets in my opinion because of the ambiguous backfield. But like other than that and Rashad White, like, you're taking guys who we know won't have a role, whereas Rashad White could also end up getting early down work and being a workhorse for this offense, which should be better next year. 10th round tag for this guy could very well end up being weekly flex play, maybe even RB2 if he gets to work. Like this is a steal. I just think like 38 just feels so low for this guy, honestly. We just don't like the name. We want the shiny new toys. As you said, the shiny new toys, it's always what people look for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Rashad White a lot.
No, I agree with you. It's a lot of the similar reasons, or not similar reasons to last year, but I think even aside from his RB4 overall finish in Tampa, every year he's been there, he's had a role and like he's adjusted to the role. Bucky came in, he took what he could get with Bucky kind of getting more of a role, and he still had that 22 overall finish that year Bucky really broke out. So he accepts the role. He's not this diva that complains about it. And now he gets an opportunity where I think it'll be a lot more comfortable for Jaden Daniels to have a guy like Rashad White than mess around with Bill again or Jerome Ford or Katron Allen. Rashad White feels like the safest pick out of all of those to really like
Mhm.
settle down with in the Jaden Daniels offense, where I think that's like it is an ambiguous backfield, but it's one that if you hit on the guy that it is, this is a good offense, and they've shown they can be a good offense. Jaden Daniels shown he can be elite. So if you can get the running back in that offense that has the most run, then at
Yeah.
this spot in the draft too, it's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, if he's getting the receiving work, like Austin Eckler was doing that too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he was actually very productive. Like, let's see here. I wanna I wanna put this in before he got hurt in 2024. Like, even on minimal snaps, he still had um some decent usage. So if I go to running backs, let's see, 2024, weeks 1 through, it looks like he missed 13 on just about. So I'll put in
Mhm.
week 12, even though it was a down week. So weeks 1 through 12, Austin Eckler finished at 29. It's really not that bad with an average of 8.6 a game. Is this on full PPR? No, this is standard. Never mind.
So he's definitely higher there because his
Yeah, hold
receiving.
on. Yeah, week 12. He's definitely going to be higher. PPR, Austin Eckler, 25. And he was
Okay.
averaging 11.6, which is that's a flex play. Like you
Oh
can be
yeah.
comfortable
Yep.
with that weekly. So 25 as opposed to 38, that's really good. So yeah, just something to consider. He could be taking that role and maybe being even more efficient than Eckler.
No, I agree. All right. I'll get into my RB pick for a sleeper, and it's Jonathan Brooks. Has an ADP of 108, RB 37 overall. This is a kind of name that we've like tossed around for some. I think we've seen him in some of our mock drafts, and I've been
Yeah.
talking about him. I know you like him a little bit as well. And there is some bias here for me. I've been a Brooks guy since he was at Texas, and since he got drafted in the NFL. Being a dynasty player, you're always kind of looking at those types of players coming out of college. And I remember I saw Brooks play at Texas for one game, and I was like, "Wow, who's this guy? Like, I want to draft him." Then he turns out to be this first round rookie draft pick, first running back off the board, 3 years ago at this point, which is crazy because it feels like he really hasn't even played an NFL snap. Um, and that's the big reason of why he's so far down here is because he's really never given himself the chance to play due to injuries. Just a long history of injuries. I think both ACLs. He had one in college. Um, Plethora of other stuff that has just kept him off the field. But that's there. There's still that high profile name that comes with Jonathan Brooks, and to see him down there, I couldn't not put him as a fun sleeper to kind of watch and root for as the season goes. I think also the Panthers situation in itself is helpful to Brooks's profile. The year that Chuba Hubbard had 2 years ago, elite year, they pay him accordingly. They still draft Brooks in the second round, but Chuba Hubbard's still the guy. And then we see what Brooks go down. We see what Rico Dowdle did, where he basically stole the job from Hubbard after getting paid. And Hubbard was on, I mean, Dowdle was on this 1 year deal, kind of prove it and change of pace guy potentially. And he stole the job entirely. So Dowdle deserved all of it. Not saying it was just stolen because Hubbard was bad. Dowdle was just really good. But I think it shows that this isn't just Hubbard's job just because he got paid. It can still be taken at any moment, and Dowdle showed us that. And so now they let Dowdle walk pretty comfortably too. I think Dowdle was complaining about how they didn't really offer him anything back. So it seemed as if they just didn't really want to bring him back. And I think that speaks to Jonathan Brooks specifically. I think part of the reason is Hubbard was already paid, but then you have a Brooks who is still only 22 years old. And I think he came into the NFL at 19 years old. He was one of those guys that was just crazy young. And he's still only 22. So that's younger than Katron Allen's like 24. Like he just got drafted and he's 24.
Yeah.
And so this guy's still like, the injuries take some life off of your career, I think, just in itself. It's just hard to ever be the same player than you were at 19 with all the injuries he's had. But he's still only 2020 or 22. He still has a lot of run. And this is now his first season where he's coming in fully healthy. Even when he got drafted, he was coming off that ACL tear, and it wasn't certain he was going to come back and play. He didn't come back and play that first year he was in the NFL. So this is his first season where he's fully healthy coming into training camp. He's already in. We're doing 11 on 11 drills, and he's almost being taken 4 rounds after Chuba Hubbard. Where I think it's an easy bounce back opportunity for Hubbard. Everyone kind of in 10 ranks behind him as well. It's an easy kind of like, oh, Chuba's going to have a better year now that Dowdle's gone. I'm not so certain. And I think this is even a scenario where Brooks could take over the job entirely. The big if is staying on the field. And there's no reason for anyone to believe that he can do that based on his career to this point. But I just think all the pieces of like the talents there, the profile in college and high school, 5-star recruit, all this stuff, but the injuries are there. If he can stay on the field, I think it's going to be a big year for Jonathan Brooks, and he could really show out. So this is a fun one to kind of follow. You're kind of taking him at a dart throw position, not as much of a dart throw as these other guys we're mentioning. You're still spending like a 10th round draft pick on him, but yeah, I think he could really return on that value.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, ADP is fairly high on him, um,
Mm-hmm.
versus like the ECR's got him at 46. So for him to ADP, like the public is in on him. Um, I I personally have him a little lower than where he's going ADP. I think I have him at 45, so he's close to that ECR rankings for me. My biggest concern is I just for this year specifically, I
Mm-hmm.
wonder how much of a split it'll be. So I
Yeah,
kind of lean into Chuba because I do agree with you. I think Brooks is going to end up. I think he is going to end up taking over. Like that's the reason they let Rico walk. That's my prediction. But I think we got to see how long that split is going to bleed into the year. Like it could be the
true,
first 12 weeks before we really see Brooks start to do anything. And then
true.
it's like, okay, like how's his price tag? But the injury concerns for me, they've been clean tears. So there hasn't been like MCL with it, LC, like there hasn't been anything else with it. So that's the best case scenario with the injury. So yeah, I mean, it's always scary to take a guy who has back-to-back tears. He's played 3 games in 2 years so far in the NFL.
2 years,
And
yeah.
and then it's like, okay, so he didn't play at all last year. He played three his rookie year and then got hurt again. So the concerns are real, but they're clean tears. So, if he is fully healthy, maybe we see it a lot earlier where he takes over by like week 4 and Chuba's the second guy up. And if that's the case, Brooks is going to be a steal. I just think
Yeah,
I think the timeshare is going to be a lot longer than that. So that's just my
yeah.
thoughts on it.
It's just a guy that I don't really care unless it gets outrageous, but like I want him on a team. I want him
Yeah.
on as many teams as possible just because of the fact of the 3 down potential. This isn't just some workhorse.
Yeah.
This isn't
Yeah.
just some goal line back. This guy could do everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're right. This definitely isn't like a sleeper name. People are in on him. They know who he is, but yeah,
Chuba was also like not very efficient last year. Like I'm pretty sure I don't know where he was in yards per carry, but yeah, he was like bottom 10. He
it
was
definitely
four.
played a role into losing your job to Dowdle.
Yeah. So, and I think I saw him dead last in was it explosive rate? Yeah, dead last in explosive rate by a lot.
Wow.
I mentioned Harvey on the bust episode. He was like 48th of 49, 2.74 explosive rate. Chuba 0.75%. Like almost two whole like Chuba is just kind of ground and pound kind of guy. So I again,
Hmm.
like I don't
Hmm.
need to keep going, but there's real potential for Brooks there.
Hmm.
My wide receiver pick, I want to first bring up Quentin Johnston. Neither one of us picked him. I think Quentin Johnston's very undervalued right now, but I didn't want to shoot too high up to that, like right outside wide receiver 36 again. I wanted to take what I feel like is a true sleeper pick, and I went with Jordan Addison, currently going outside the top 100 picks at 101. That's the middle of the ninth. That's the 905 at wide receiver 45. Feels like my Jamison Williams value pick. I think this is Addison's floor, and I really just don't understand the draft price. Okay, sure, Addison, not a super exciting name to draft. I get that. But he finished at wide receiver 45, where he's being drafted last year with J.J. McCarthy. And now he's going to get Kyler. So that's an upgrade. And the prior 2 years, he finished at wide receiver 23 and wide receiver 21 with insane upside that he's shown, including he had a 40 bomb in 2024. That's like, you don't just do that if you don't have the potential. So I think that says a lot to how good he could be. And he'll never be the one. That's Justin Jefferson. But he should probably be the two. Regardless, I believe in Kevin O'Connell. I believe in this offense. I think it's going to improve a lot under Kyler. I think it's going to look a lot more like 2024 and the previous years that we've seen. And I think they really just did whiff on JJ McCarthy. I mean, look at what KOC has done with the quarterbacks like Sam Darnold. Well, now he's won a Super Bowl and he got paid by the Seahawks. Look at Daniel Jones, was unbelievable last year for the Colts, and they were undefeated until he went down, right? So, like, what they do with the quarterbacks, he does great things. I truly think JJ McCarthy's just not good. So I think Kyler's going to be great. I think it's going to be a good offense again. And, I expect the targets to jump back up to the 60 to 70 range versus 42 last year. I think the yards should go up back up to around 900 versus 610 last year. I think the touchdowns come back a little bit with the better offense, but even still, like 60 to 70 targets, that might be low because, I think Hawkinson is kind of just cooked. I mean, we'll see. But he had 10 total touchdowns in each of his first 2 seasons compared to just 4 last year. So, no, I don't think he'll get 10 again, but I think it'll be more than 4. I think 6 or 6 to 8. I think that's decently fair. I mean, he's clearly done it. He's shown he can do it. Juwan Jennings goes into the offense. Doesn't really scare me off here. I think he sat in free agency far too long to take over as the true wide receiver two for the team. So for me, it's very clearly Jettas is the one, Addison's the two, Juwan is the three. And yeah, like I said, I think Hawkinson might be cooked. So I'm not worried about him at all. So I really think Addison's the second guy in this offense, which may mean more targets than I'm even predicting and more than he's had in his career because Hawkinson's been there. So it's like, okay, Hawkinson's been the two. Maybe Addison becomes the two even more so, and which makes this even more of a sleeper pick. So yeah, I think wide receiver 21 might have been Addison's ceiling, but even if he finishes, let's say at wide receiver 35, right? That makes this a great pick and a solid flex play like week in, week out. Wide receiver 35. Okay, that's not great, but I mean, that's way down from his wide receiver 23 and 21 finishes, but still well above wide receiver 45 where he's going now. So, I'm just trying to be a little bit more fair, not predict where he's been like really good, but at the same time, like I think we're very highly undervaluing this player here, and I think Addison's just going to finish much above him. And I'm being conservative by saying if he were to finish at wide receiver 35.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely a name where the talent's there. He showed it. He showed in his rookie year, had a bunch of hype. I just think it's so hard to continue on the upwards trend when you have a guy like Justin Jefferson next to you because he's just going to dominate that offense, and he has done it every year of his career except really last year for a multitude of reasons, but more so because of JJ McCarthy being bad, like you said. So, yeah, I think everyone's in on like a Jefferson bounce back with Kyler, and a name that's kind of forgotten is Addison, who's shown he could do that and be that sort of sidekick. So I'm in on this one too. I love that, like, based on his ADP right now and wide receiver rank, like you could get this guy as like a wide receiver 4 on your team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like so that feels amazing. Like as a wide receiver 4 on your team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this pick, and as you pointed out, I'm gonna it's going to be a name I'm looking for if that's the range I could get him in.
Yeah, and don't let Jefferson overshadow this guy too. Like if he
Yeah,
isn't on
exactly.
this offense, I mean, look at T. Higgins. I'm not saying Addison's as good as T. Higgins, but Jamar
Yeah.
Chase is there. Or look at Jamison Williams with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that's a more fair comparison. And Jamison Williams is going, what, 20 picks higher? So
And
20,
and this
20
is
wide receiver picks higher, I should
yeah,
say. So, like,
and this isn't just
um,
a shot in the dark. Like you said, Addison's has 2 seasons of 10 plus or 10 touchdowns.
yeah,
So like he's shown he could produce. He
yeah,
just yeah, easy to forget about, I think.
yeah.
But
People are so off after last year because last year
yeah,
was
it
abysmal.
was rough. Yeah. I like that pick a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So for my receiver pick, I went with Josh Downs, who has an ADP of 103 overall, and then wide receiver 47. Now, Downs is a name that I feel like he's been in this conversation in the offseason every year of like, oh, wait for the Josh Downs breakout. I know it was really big train last year of like Downs replacing that Pittman sort of production and turning into a guy. Well, it didn't happen. Pittman remained the guy. And this is Pittman leaving Indianapolis is a big reason why I think Downs takes that jump finally this year because I think even though the player builds of Downs and Pittman are pretty drastically different. Pittman's a taller guy, lengthy guy, Downs smaller, more slot receiver kind of build. But the way they produce on the field, I feel like Downs can be very similar to the role that Pittman played. And Pittman was very good with Daniel Jones. I have here, I did some math on it. Pittman averaged 11.5 points per game with Jones at QB during that. What with Jones at QB, so that was weeks 1 to 14. Now it's nothing spicy. That's nothing that's going to win you leagues, but again, that's a startable flex position. And with Pittman, there was mixed in 4 absolute duds where he was scoring like 3, 2 points. So that number could have been higher if he just puts up a mediocre game. Now, I know I'm talking about a different player when trying to hype up Josh Downs here, but I truly believe that that will be Josh Downs' role. They sign Alec Pierce to kind of be that outside X receiver, and the targets should go up if you're paying that kind of money. But I think in terms of the way Daniel Jones excelled in that offense, it was with Michael Pittman's short gains, receptions, targets, and that's what produced fantasy points. So Downs, he's been a name that people are waiting for, and I feel like this is the first time in his career where he's actually positioned to turn into a relevant piece in that offense. And they didn't do any work to add to the receiver room. All they did was lose Michael Pittman. So, of course, Tyler Warren should take another jump forward, which plays in the target share. But this feels like a steal for a guy that could potentially serve as that wide receiver 3 or flex in a league. And he's going in what is that, the 10th round? Or yeah, I
He's
don't I
going he's going what,
eighth, ninth.
two spots behind Addison, so the 907.
Yeah. So then in the ninth round, similar, I do like Addison better. I think I would go Addison, but in terms of another sleeper position that you can this could be your wide receiver 4, and he's the wide receiver 2 on his team overall. It feels like a great value and a potential to really skyrocket from that 47 rank he's at right now.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. I like this pick. I think my biggest concerns is when do we get Daniel Jones, right? Um,
Yep.
he's a little small, so he might just be a slot guy. But at the same time, like I couldn't tell you who's going to be on the outside alongside Pierce otherwise. So
Hmm.
like regardless, even if they put somebody out there, like I still see Downs getting the ball more than the other outside guy. So I think it's a great pick. My other concern is that we hype him up every year, and he just
That's
never.
what it.
So
That's
it's
why I
like,
pointed out because it felt almost like a death sentence to put him here. Like,
yeah,
oh no, we're gonna look back and say Josh Downs didn't do anything again. But I just feel like in his career, he's like it's always been Pittman there while
yeah,
he's been there.
yeah,
So now it's even Alec Pierce took a step forward. So
yeah,
you could even point that out as a negative in his case because he's never just taken that step forward, and other guys around him have, but they've stuck with him. So
right.
here he is in his final
I
shot.
I will say I'm with this pick a lot. Like I considered him for my sleeper pick here
Yep,
because
yep,
I think he's primed to do well this year, and hopefully the talk actually comes true.
yep.
Tight ends. I'll be honest. the tight end sleepers don't feel great this year. Like,
No.
Greg Dulcich, everybody's in on Greg Dulcich. I went with Chigakonkwo, everybody's in on Chigakonkwo. Um, I do like the name Gunnar Helm as well, but Helm and Dulcich are kind of going like really, really late, like almost undrafted, and to me, I'm just like, like I'll go with Chig. And so here's why I think Chig could be a sleeper. He's going in the literally one of the last picks in the 12th round. So he's going super, super late. He tight end 18. He hasn't done it yet. He's not even finished there. He's never finished above tight end 21. But he's been extremely steady. I think that's what concerns me the most is he's never finished above tight end 21. So it's not like the most exciting thing ever. But this guy's only 26 years old. Goes to a better offense than the Titans were, and he's going into a great role. 2 years ago, when Ertz was 33 years old, he finished at tight end 7 in this offense with Jane Daniels. And chalk up last year, who cares? Everybody was hurt. Jane Daniels was hurt. Terry McLaurin was hurt. Ertz was getting hurt. So we're not going to talk about last year, but 2 years in a fully healthy year with Jaden Daniels, Ertz at 33 years old finished at tight end 7. Over the last 2 years, including last year, so Ertz had an 18% and a 20% target share, which are both great numbers and would be a career best by over 2% for Chig. I think his career high was like 16 point something. So, if he's getting 18 to 20% target share, that's a big boost for him. The touchdowns should increase as well. In a down year with only 13 games this past year, Ertz still scored 4 touchdowns, which would also be a career best for Chigakonkwo. So he's gaining a lot of camp buzz. Seems like he could be the second option here behind Terry, right? Like there's a lot of talk about Antonio Williams and they need to bring in another receiver. And, maybe Chig's still there because they're anticipating Ayuk is going to go there. I don't know what's going on with Ayuk. I don't know if he goes there. I don't know if Diggs goes there. But, obviously things would change a little if one of those guys ends up there. But I really think as it stands, Chig's going to be the number 2 guy behind Terry. He's also an elite yards after catch guy, the yak, and he had 342 last year. That was ninth amongst all tight ends, only 10 less than Harold Fannin, who you put as your bust pick. So I think, it's something to consider when we're all talking up Fannin and he's elite. Like Chig's an athletic freak too. And I think, if in an opportunity here, like it could be great. In terms of targets per route run, yards per route run, he was literally nearly identical with Ertz last year as well. He only had a point zero 0.01 difference coming on the yards per route run. So it was almost the exact same. So, you can almost slot him in this role entirely. And he's just more athletic. He's better after the catch. I really think this could be a top 12 guy. And I think it makes him a sleeper, even if he doesn't have that swing for the fences upside. I have him at tight end 15 right now in my rankings, but, I really think this guy has a true potential to slot in. If he goes in here with the Ertz role, like tight end 7, I think is in the realm of possibilities. Am I predicting it? No. But I definitely think tight end 18 is a little low for him just because of the opportunity itself and how good of an athlete he is. But then again, I just want to bring up again, if Ayuk or Diggs goes there, it does change things for Chig, and he'll probably finish pretty similarly to what he had done in Tennessee.
Yeah. No, and like you mentioned at the beginning, none of these picks are going to be like spicy. It's
Yeah,
not huge names,
yeah,
but Okonkwo was a guy that in his time, it never came to fruition, but in his years in Tennessee, he was a constant like breakout pick, sleeper
yeah,
pick, just because, like you said, the talent and just like build is there to become a tight end. Now he's probably past that time of his career where he can really like turn into something special. But
right.
I this is a person I can in a situation where I can imagine like a just a random tight end 7 finish, like you're like a tight whatever it is. So
Yeah.
all the pieces are there, and it's basically free. Like you can pick this guy up after a draft too if you wanted to. So this is one you could get ahead of the curve, and yeah, I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah. Well, I will also note too, he is a very popular pick amongst the people, as I mentioned. Him and like Greg Dulcich are the 2 guys I'm hearing the most about, like sleeper tight end picks. just do not reach on Chig. I'm going with the sleeper. I'm buying into the hype with the rest of the people, but do not reach on him.
Yeah, yeah,
Let him fall to you late and shoot like late. If he ends up going in the ninth, tenth, like you're reaching at that point. Like
yeah.
I'd be out. So at this price, tight end 18, wait for him to come to you. If somebody else in your league wants him really early, let him go. So
Yeah, I think that goes for all of our sleeper picks here. Is
yeah,
that like these guys are sleepers and values based on their ADP currently. So not because they're going to have a breakout season, but they can return on their value right now. So
for sure.
um, yeah. All right. Now, this is a name that I think when I brought him up, that we were both kind of surprised he was going behind even guys like Chigakonkwu because of his season last year, and that's going to be Hunter Henry. Currently has an ADP of 157, and that's good for tight end 20 overall. So he's behind Okonkwo. And Hunter Henry had a tight end 7 finish last year, like I mentioned. He also had 7 touchdowns and close to 700 yards. So a very productive season. And I think a lot of that goes along with the year that Drake May had, the year that the Patriots had overall, where he was just put in a lot of positions to score, like catch passes, be a part of that elite year that Drake May put together. And so the part that I don't really get is how can he be 13 spots lower than his finish, where
Yeah.
this is arguably a Patriots offense, or not even arguably, this is the offense got better and it's become more elite in year 2 just based on the additions of AJ Brown. So, you could play that into, target share is going to go down. It's not like Hunter Henry's target share was that huge to begin with. And he put up those numbers because of his red zone presence. So he's now in an offense, or he again in an offense where Drake May really, didn't go crazy in his passing game numbers, and there's a lot of room for those to improve, and a lot of room for attempts. I think they're going to rely a lot more on Drake May to go out and win them some games based on this tough schedule. It can no longer just be. I won't go into that narrative because they proved that the runner up in the Super Bowl, but it can no longer be where a defense just wins them games. Drake May is going to go out there and do it, and Hunter Henry's a part of that offense, and he's really has no competition at the tight end position. I know they drafted Eli Raridon,
Yeah.
or and he's been getting some camp buzz I've seen, but Hunter Henry's been the guy that's done it his whole career. He did it as most recently as last year with a top 10 tight end finish. So it just feels like a no-brainer pick if you're like need depth at the tight end position or you need that backup tight end. Backup tight ends aren't something I usually do unless I go like with some sort of young reach pick, and I want a steady guy. He feels like the perfect pick in that situation if like you're really in on a Kenyon Sadiq or like you're really, like a guy like that where, this rookie's going to take a big step forward. Then you have the steady guy like Hunter Henry. Either way, I wouldn't feel comfortable starting him every week. This is definitely a spot start kind of guy, bye week kind of guy, but I think he returns. I'm very confident, bearing injury, he returns on this tight end 20 ranking currently.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I had to look like he finished at 9 last year, 7.5 PPR, but
Okay.
he
I was
also
my ranking.
yeah, I don't know why, but even still, nine's solid. Also, Raritan, like people love him for Dynasty, and I can get on board with that. He's a beast, and the camp buzz is great. It won't happen this year. I'd be
Mhm.
shocked if he takes over at all on Hunter Henry. They just need a second guy. Like you need a second tight end. Every team needs a second tight end. So I'm with this pick a lot. Also, Drake May's rookie year, which wasn't nearly as productive. Tight end 12. So, I mean, in
Mhm.
2 years with Drake May, tight end 12, tight end 9, and we're drafting him at tight end 20. I know it's like ugly, and he's more of a
Yeah.
spot start kind of guy, but yeah, you make some good points. Tight end 20 just feels so low.
Yeah. And it like not even bashing the Chigakunkwo pick, but like that's a purely upside based
Yeah.
pick where
Yep.
the floor is there for Hunter Henry. So it just doesn't make sense really. But I don't know. People like the hype, and this is kind of the guy that can like slip through the cracks and be like, oh yeah, he'll put up like 6 touchdowns and 600 yards. Not a bad.
Yeah.
It's no Kelsey year, but it's a sleeper for sure.
I think tight end's interesting though too. It's one of those positions like if you don't hit, like you don't want a steady guy. Like if you're drafting a
Mhm.
tight end late, you don't want like a steady spot start kind of guy like Hunter Henry. You're shooting for upside, which
True.
I can understand in that way, but yeah, like at the same time, like I don't even know if he's outside of the like or if he should be so far outside the top 12. Like I really feel like, if we just look at ADP real quick and then we'll wrap up. But there's like that range of like Jake Ferguson, Isaiah Likely, Dallas Goedert 12 through 14, Mark Andrews at 15. Like that sounds like the range he should be in. Kind of
Hmm.
like that back end. Maybe there's the guys in your leagues that love to double up on tight end, so you are drafting one of these guys in that range. But to me, that feels like the range is like that back end before you just shoot for the moon. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Like just looking through this,
Yeah.
like Juwan Johnson, like I know he was half productive last year, but like he's going above Hunter Henry, and there's a lot of talk about Oscar Delp, the rookie out of Georgia, like literally taking over Juwan Johnson's role. So I don't know. I'm with you on this. It feels like he should just be in a higher tier.
Hmm. No, I agree. Yeah.
So yeah. But all right, that'll do it for the sleeper episode. So there you go. Values, bust, sleepers, all done. We'll see how we do next year. But there's our picks. A lot of fun to do these. I think what do we have for next week? Next week we're doing our favorite and least favorite pick by round. So we're gonna be doing it as one episode this year. Last year we did it. We did our favorite picks. We just went through how it's going on the ADP. We pulled it up. We went through it. This year we're gonna do it together. And so, we'll have to learn how to be a little quicker in our discussions, but we're gonna go through probably about 10 rounds, just favorite and least favorite pick by round. We'll just buzz through that
Yep.
and really
Yep.
talk about, just quick hits on why it might be a value or why we don't like the pick and just looking in the round itself and really isolating it in a vacuum doing that. So that'll be the next episode from us. And then from there, we start to get close to the rankings episodes. So we'll have a couple more episodes before the rankings. Um, but yeah, should be some fun stuff. Looking forward to continuing to update my rankings, thinking about the rankings, and yeah, we'll have a lot of good conversation around that. But look for the values or favorite picks, least favorite picks. That'll be out next week. Hope you enjoyed these sleepers today, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Peace.